The movie begins by showing little Shrek, who unfortunately is no match for the Spartans, which means his fate is to go to the skeleton pit. After all, only a true Spartan has the right to return to the village. One of such was Leonidas, who since childhood has been fighting back against his grandmothers. And in order for Leonidas to learn the art of survival, he was sent into the wilderness. But he didn't give up in the face of the elements, and from time to time, he would eat a sandwich from the subway. Suddenly, a penguin comes out from behind a bush to start a dance battle and capture Leonidas. He takes advantage of the moment to sneak into the narrow gorge where the harpoon was so aptly placed especially for hunting penguins. And no matter how much the penguin begged for mercy, his fate was sealed. So Leonidas returned to the village with the trophy on his head and became a real king. One of the girls immediately writes the code to the loyalty belt, impressing Leonidas. So much so that he got high. So he had a son and trained him personally, but he is distracted by the captain because a messenger from Xerxes has come to them. There's a real Spartan greeting to be done, which the ambassador doesn't particularly approve of. One way or another, the negotiations must continue, during which the ambassador is distracted by the queen. The ambassador explains that Xerxes has already conquered the whole world, only Sparta remains. And for better negotiations, Leonidas suggests that the ambassador should stand opposite the pit of death. The peaceful air of Sparta, as well as its inhabitants, lead Leonidas to believe that peace should be accepted. But seeing what the ambassador is doing, the only thing left is a declaration of war, and the ambassador immediately flies into the pit of death, just like his warriors. Ryan Seacrest gives the judges a vote, who didn't particularly like Leonid's kicking, which means they'll have to kick him off the show, but instead, Leonidas sends them into the same hole. Toward evening, Leonid stops by the soothsayers because he needs advice on making a plan, and the plan amuses the soothsayers immensely. Leonidas can only be helped by the oracle. One of the soothsayers listens to her intently, coming to the conclusion that if he goes to war with the Persians, he's screwed. But Leonid is not confused and immediately starts another training session, breaking his own record. At the first rays of the sun, the captain has gathered a real army of Spartans. But there is a problem. Leonid's demands were so great that there are not so many fighters. The captain shows off his son, Sonio. Leonidas doesn't understand why he's not in the army, accepting Sonio into the greatest unit. It remains to say goodbye to his family, though not the first time, because Leonidas mistook his son, but he does not yet suspect that Traitoro has sent a text message with the exact coordinates where the Spartans will ambush him. After a while, the Spartans ride into the gorge, where danger lurks around every corner. Well, that doesn't stop them from taking a break to replenish their electrolytes. Leonidas wonders if there's a passageway from where they might be attacked. Suddenly, from around the corner comes Paris Hilton, in a rather deplorable state. And although she has given the necessary data, Leonidas is not ready to take her into his squad. At the same time, the warriors notice the Persians approaching, and since the Spartans are not ready to surrender, a dance battle begins. The Persians are no weaklings, launching a counterattack. Each of the troops is fighting hard. Even the emissary bursts onto the dance floor. After a while, the judges evaluate the teams, condemning the Persians to water procedures. But no sooner have the Spartans celebrated than they are distracted by Xerxes himself, who accidentally stumbles and in order not to appear a clown, shoots one of his soldiers, and suggests the Spartans play a game. Leonidas takes the case, where an incredible trip to Las Vegas awaits them, and all they have to do is press the red button, thus surrendering Sparta. And though the whole squad asks Leonidas to agree, he's adamantly against it. Xerxes hates to be rejected, because of which he has gathered the most vicious warriors from all over the planet. After a while, a rap battle begins, where the Spartans, as always, won. All this was watched by Xerxes himself, contemplating a new plan. That evening, the queen is able to vouch for Traitoro's support, and Paris Hilton gives the information about the hidden passage to Xerxes personally in exchange for a Chanel purse. Morning comes. Leonidas is reinforced in a local cafeteria, and only a scout who came up announces that Xerxes' warriors are on the secret path. By this time, the fat man has lost a couple of eyes, but even so, he is ready to fight back. Then Leonidas asks him to run back to Sparta and deliver a message to the queen personally. But no sooner has Leonidas finished his sentence than Xerxes' army arrives, which, as always, pisses Leonidas off. Xerxes notices that Leonid's shoelaces are not tied, and since he is on his knee, Xerox is glad that Leonidas has surrendered, amusing the Spartans. And since they won't cooperate, Xerxes shows his army of millions, greatly intimidating the Spartans. The queen wastes no time in trying to gain the support of the people, but Traitoro spoils everything by arousing the queen's furious anger along with venom. The queen immediately punches the Sandman in the stomach, who didn't stand a chance against the handheld vacuum cleaner. It's only now that the people realize that Traitoro was a traitor. Now the Spartans are in a fighting stance. The Persians run to attack, get caught in a tight formation of Spartans, and are immediately knocked out. This allows the Spartans to go on the counter-offensive, mowing down everyone in their path, including using a wet towel. Meanwhile, Sonio eliminates Ghost Rider himself, forcing Xerxes to unleash Rocky Balboa, who sends Sonio's head to the other side with just one punch. All this is seen by the captain, who acquires a new goal to eliminate Rocky. But before he does, he has to choose between a knife, a gun, or maybe Botox. Having chosen the last option, Rocky leaves this world, just like the captain himself. Leonidas wastes no time in taking the car away, turns on the radio, and does a little dance before picking up the tire iron, which can easily take out a couple of Uzi and mow down most of the army. What's left to deal with is Xerxes himself, running as far away from the battlefield as possible. And since luck is on his side, he gets the Energon, which can make a cyborg with built-in YouTube out of an ordinary machine. But here's the problem. The power cord flies out of the socket, disabling the entire robot system. So Leonidas kept his word. Xerxes fell, but unfortunately right on top of the Spartans. A little while later, the warrior returns to the village. It remains to check who is in front of him, and since it's the queen, he hands over the penguin's beak. 1 year later, the Spartans begin using the technique of troop augmentation, and since Dilio is blind, he takes the warriors to a completely different place, namely Malibu, straight to a rehabilitation center. The movie ends with a scene where all the Spartans, including the Persians, participate in the same show, as if there was no enmity between them. Even Britney Spears was there. And that's the end of the movie.